Arkansas Razorbacks bring a lot of good guys. This is a team you know well. Let's start off though by talking about Christian Franklin. What do viewers need to know about this guy?
Yeah, I mean, I know him pretty well. You want to talk about bias. Arkansas is a team that I grew up at Baum Stadium as a kid watching the Norm DeBryan Hogs. And, Dave Van Horn's picked up right where he left off. Christian Franklin, I mean, you're talking about Kansas City kid, first-round talent. I would be shocked if he's not a first-round pick in the upcoming Major League Baseball draft. The kid is absolutely electric. He has been from the moment he set foot in Fayetteville. Check me on this. I think he hit 381 in our little abbreviated 2020 season. I know for a fact he's coming off a big fall. And if I have to pick one player from the Hogs I'm most excited to watch, not just in Arlington, but all season long, it's Christian Franklin. And it has been. I mean, I could say the same thing last year when it was an Arkansas team with Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah.
It was the same thing. I love Christian Franklin, and I don't care who knows it.
You're right. Bat 381 in a shortened season. On base, nearly 47% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And slugging percentage of 619.
Well, and when Christian's on base, look, guys can have a high on base percentage, and that's wonderful. But when Christian's on base, it is an absolute problem because he is so disruptive on the base paths because he's such a great athlete. So, frankly, he starts the fires for Arkansas, and then after that, you look at the rest of their lineup this year, and I mentioned Heston Kjerstad. Obviously, he is the number 2 overall pick in the Major League Baseball draft, goes to the Orioles. Casey Martin was also another guy. There's a key cog. They lose him. So a lot like we talked about with Mississippi State, they have 2 vital pieces of their offense that they are going to have to replace, but Christian Franklin's a hell of a place to start. And then beyond him, Matt Goodhart, same thing, first-round talent, middle of the order. Is going to lock down that third base spot. Those 2, along with, Casey Opitz is another guy, probably gone if the draft isn't abbreviated last year. JUCO transfer Brady Slavens comes in. They slot him in now. Basically what I'm getting at is you expect Arkansas to be good offensively no matter who leaves and who comes because they're always going to recruit at a very high level. And frankly, it's just what we've come to expect from them regardless of who they lose. Speaking of transfers, though, if we want to talk pitching a little bit,
we have to.
And I'm getting ahead of it here because this is not even one that really shouldn't probably be a headliner for them this year. But Lyle Lockhart is a kid that, we got to know last year a little bit when he was at Houston. We had Houston in Round Rock. So I had actually gone out to Houston and hung out with their program for a day, did a little piece on Lyle. They called him the volcano at Houston because they're just waiting for him to erupt. He's a guy that plays with great passion. He was the ace of their staff he's a two-way player. When he wasn't pitching, he's playing first base, and he's an adequate hitter as well. He ends up, taking the graduate transfer route, going to Arkansas, and I don't know what you're going to get from him in the SEC, but he was the guy at Houston, and if you get anything from him, it's basically it's gravy because at the top of the rotation, it looks pretty sturdy. We'll see how it goes. But when you're starting a conversation with Patrick Wicklander and Connor Noland, that's a good place to start. Those are 2 veterans that they've been in some battles for Dave Van Horn, and I expect both of them to have their best year so far at Arkansas. And then apparently Cole Ramage had a big fall, so you throw him into the mix. And then speaking of the all-name team, Zebulon Vermillion.
And that's not one you hear every day.
Zebulon Vermillion, very awesome name. He's 6'4", 230, and he throws absolute fire.
Yeah.
He's been doing it from the bullpen. He's been a guy, a late inning stopper, closer for this team. But Van Horn didn't rule out that he could find his way into the starting rotation if needed. So, if Wicklander, Nolan, Ramage, Lockhart can't get it done, then they always have Vermillion they can go to. So they don't have a Micah Dallas. They don't have a Christian McLeod. They don't have some of these, top flight names we've been talking about necessarily. But they do have a half a dozen dudes who might be that guy, and we're just not going to know. We don't know today. But I'll tell you this. At the end of the week in Arlington, after those 3 games that they're going to play in Arlington, we're going to have a pretty good feel for what they're working with at the top of the rotation. And if it is complementary to their lineup, Arkansas, they're going to be a perennial national title contender eventually. They're not going to have a ball fall in and harmlessly land foul down the right field line. They're going to close the deal. And this very well could be the year they do it. They're as talented as anybody.
And how do they? We talked about the depth, the pitching depth in the lineup. How do they move this year from that top 10 team, very good team, to winning national championship?
Well, I mean, I think, look, they're right there every year. I mean, the thing about college baseball national titles are very, very elusive. I mean, not that they're not elusive in every sport, but baseball lends itself to a little bit additional unpredictability over and beyond what you'll find in football, certainly, where Alabama and Clemson just win every year, or even college basketball, where, yes, there's some unpredictability in the tournament just because it is what it is, but eventually the cream typically rises.
Yeah.
And the cream rises in college baseball, too. Omaha is Omaha. But once you're there, those 8 teams, any one of them can win a national title. So for Arkansas, it's not so much about getting over the hump. They've cleared the hump, and they've been on the cusp of winning the whole thing. It's just everything has to fall in your favor.
Yeah.
And the year that they were close, in 2018, one thing went wrong, and then the whole thing unraveled. So for this group, if Christian is what he is, Matt Goodhart is what I think he is, and both those guys I think are first round players, then it all comes down to the pitching, and it often does in Omaha. And if the pitching is there, and I expect it will be, then Arkansas is a team that they'll be one of the final 8. They may be one of the final 4, and it wouldn't shock anybody if they're one of the last 2. And then it's a 3-game series, and all bets are off. So is this the most talented team that Dave Van Horn has had in Fayetteville? No, it's not. But is this a team that is capable of winning a national championship? Absolutely it is. And it's not always the most talented teams that end up closing the deal.